Howdy, y'all. It's your favorite trainer with a belt buckle. Today we're going to go through the ACE textbook. Everything from cover to cover. I will get you to pass this. If you're not familiar with Show Up Fitness, I wrote the book, How to Become a Successful Personal Trainer. We're at my beautiful gym here in West Hollywood. We have one in Santa Monica, San Diego. I teach personal trainers. We've helped over 2,800 people pass the NASM CPT. We've been beta testing our study guide. That's what you need to get. Do not read this entire textbook. No. You're going to get gray hair from this shit. No. You need to focus on becoming a qualified trainer, and that's what I talk about in my book. I interview the top trainers in the world. Notice I said the word trainer. Don't put in your Instagram bio this and this and this and this. All it does is show you're insecure. You do not need a certification, but you probably got rear-ended, bought some big-ass bundle, or wasted way too much money. That's okay. I'm not passing judgment. I will help you pass this. But you need to focus on becoming a level 1 coach. This certificate right here will get you into any gym. We have a partnership with Equinox, West Hollywood. We have the top trainer in Santa Monica, top trainer in Berkeley, Carlsbad. They've gone through our personal training internship. 2 months, if you can make it to Southern California. If you can't, we're online. Internationally, we've got people hired in Canada, Turkey, Brazil, Italy. You need to focus on programming, that's what we've got back here, our CCA, anatomy, how to assess, build your confidence. And our level 1 coach, you go through our online internship. It's almost $25 a month. You can watch all the recorded ones. If you want live interactions with the fitness pros like myself and other instructors who teach anatomy, programming, how to regress and progress, you need to know the 17 muscles of the shoulder, 20 of the lower body, how to regress and progress those 8 movement patterns, and then design a program all within 10 minutes in front of a panel of coaches. That builds your confidence so you can go anywhere, wherever you want to go. Give them your resume. We help you design that. And you will be able to rock that interview and start helping people, because that's ultimately what you want to do. And I got you. You have this, and this is your number 1 stress right now. I understand. You're losing your shit. So put up with me. This is all just a persona. I like to get panties and jock straps in a bundle, talking about my giant biceps, my belt buckle, woo! But, well, truth has been told. I own gyms. I've been doing this for 20 years. I have my CSCS. I've taught thousands of trainers. And statistically speaking, if you just get your certification, 90% of you will quit within 12 months. And I don't want that. It breaks my heart, because personal trainers, they're not respected. Our career is a joke. You do it as a side hobby. Everyone bitches and complains. It's not realistic. You can't do it as a career. Yes, you can, when you focus on the fundamentals of movement and you know anatomy. So let me get you through this right now, all right? I know that you're anxious. Do not read the textbook. That's the most important thing, number 1. Number 2, get into our classes. For $25 a month, we have weekly classes on Tuesday and Thursday. You can ask questions and better understand the material that you're not getting. So let's open up the textbook, and we're going to go through the chapters you probably should read and you don't need to read. The ACE test is 3 hours long, 150 questions. 30 of them will be beta tested. You don't know. You're going to get between 6 to as many as 20 video questions. It's going to be someone doing a crunch, and they're going to say, what muscle is concentrically accelerating this movement? The rectus abdominis. What is the downward motion during the pull-up? So the client will be on top of the bar, coming down. That will be the eccentric action of the latissimus dorsi. You will see 6 to 20 of those videos. When you look at the table of contents, don't read chapter 1, don't need to. Chapter 2, there's some stuff in there. It talks about their integrated fitness training module that they had. That's what they're real big with, ACE, IFT. Chapter 3, good to get through. Chapter 4, sure. 5, you could skip. 6, you could skip. 7's a big one. 8, skip. 9, 10, 11, those are good ones. Chapters 12, 13, 14, 15, not really. 16, meh. The bulk of the test is going to be through 9 through 11. I'm going to go through this page by page, tell you stuff that you will probably see. You need a highlights. You don't need the textbook. So if you don't have this right now, just push pause and write down the word. I may say a page number because I'm referencing those that do have the textbook. They got screwed. They have it. When you're done with it, you can throw it away. Literally in this textbook, They didn't have programming in there. So you have a client that comes in, help me, and you're like, oh shit, what do I do? I don't know how to program, don't know how to train, because this doesn't give you that confidence. That's what we do. Alrighty, let's get into this stuff right now. Todd Durkin, if you don't follow him, he's a legit coach out of San Diego. He has a lot of great content. Make sure to check him out. Chapter 1, the scope of the trainer. Like I said, just skip this because you're going to see it again throughout the textbook. There is, and I will put all of these tables in our guide. Our guide is what you're going to focus on. You can take 830 plus pages, and our guide is going to be less than 40. So you can just memorize that guide, and it will get you to pass this 100% guaranteed. If worst case you don't, you take it again. Time is money. That's what's really, really important. I hate getting inquiries saying that I'm going to take my ACE, my NASM in 4 months. Fuck no, you aren't. You're going to take it in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Get it over with. Worst case you fail, you take it again. $200, it doesn't matter because 4 months is way too long. Get through it in a month so then you can get hands-on learning, go through an internship, get mentorship. On this one right here, general scope of practice, you will see some stuff on there about diagnosing any illnesses. If a client has a shoulder issue, we do not do that. They're big into the scope of practice with nutrition as well as physical therapy. You need to get 20 hours of ACE approved continuing ed credits per 2 years. You can see something along the lines of that. Again, scope of practice. We have scenarios in our study guide that is all you need to know. All right, this is my favorite right here, page 26, talking about personal certification programs. Everyone says, I did my research. It's NCCA approved. Do you even know who NCCA is? It's a $15,000 application, and that's it. Now you are accredited. They don't have professors going through the textbooks to say this is legit or not. Write a check. There you go. I'm now qualified. No, you're not. It's a whole political thing. But I did my research. No, you didn't. It's okay. It's okay. Chapter 2. Let's get through this. They're real big into rapport, trust, and empathy. When you go through the textbook, or if you have the little study guides that they provide, you're going to see the ABC approach. Ask open-ended questions, break down barriers, and collaborate. So that's what they're going to focus on a lot. The IFT, which is the Integrated Fitness Training Module, just simply put, baseline, that's going to be for general pop who can't move. Middle, it's going to be for people who are stronger, people who want to put some size on. Top, that's going to be your athletes, that's going to be more speed development and agility and quickness plyometrics. So just simplified as that. Advanced, top. Moderate, middle. Functional, bottom. So they're going to ask you questions about a type of client, a case example, and they need to know where that goes with the rep schemes, which we'll talk about. SMART goals you see a few different times: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So for example, with the base training for functional, you'll see any client who is not consistently performing moderate intensity cardiorespiratory exercises for bouts of at least 20 minutes on 3 days per week should begin with base training. That's going to be making reference to their cardio stuff. You won't see much on heart anatomy, maybe a question or two on the specifics of cardiorespiratory training, which is on page 45, and that's going to be your base training, fitness training, and performance. So again, just relate those to the IFT module, and basic meaning terrible shape, moderate, more high intense. Those are your patterns of movement that ACE goes over. And so this is probably one of the more important, there's like 5 tables that you need to know. This is one we'll have on our study guide, also a blog that I'll write, just breaking down the muscular aspects of training when it comes to reps and so forth for the IFT model. So functional is just going to be, the word you're going to see is postural stability and kinetic chain mobility, endurance, flexibility, core functioning. That's going to be anyone who says that in the case example, it's going to be functional. For movement training, you're going to see things such as the 5 primary movement patterns and varied planes of motion. You're going to want to focus on patterns without compromising postural joint stability, and hypertrophy and so forth would be in movement, and then load and speed would be the more advanced ones. And all right, chapter 3, behavior. Know the health belief module. They'll definitely have questions on that. Perceived stability, perceived seriousness, benefits, barriers, and so that's a good one to review. Motivation, so highlight self-determination theory. Know autonomous motivation versus controlled motivation, intrinsic motivation, those are good terms to know. And then I'll have a photo of the self-determination theory, which is on figure 3.2. Process goals versus outcome goals. Your stages of change, you'll see probably at least 3 to 5 questions on that. So you have pre-contemplation, which is you're inactive, you're not even thinking about exercise. You have contemplation, which is you're thinking about it within the next 6 months. Preparation, you're doing it just not consistently. Action, you're doing it consistently but not for 6+ months. And then you have maintenance, where there's no thought of going back to your bad habits. So again, the ABC module of ask, break down barriers, and then corroborate. Social cognitive theory, self-efficacy, those aren't bad flashcards. Essentially, you take the flashcards that we provide, which will be probably maybe 80 to 100 max, and that's what you just need to know. And that's all you're going through. So instead of going through the textbook, just use those flashcards. So the words that I've already said in the first 3 chapters, that's all you need to go through. We went through that in under 5 minutes. Don't reread and try to understand the stuff in here, because it's not relative to being a personal trainer. You will see a lot on rapport. They're big on that. Rapport, investigation, planning, and action, page 99, that's a good one. Empathy, you'll see a lot of. An open-ended question is, talk to me more about your goals, versus is your goal to lose fat, which would be a closed-ended question. Active listening, this is all stuff you would do during the assessment. ORS, affirmations, reflective listening, summarizing. Do you see a question on ORS? Absolutely. Engaging, focusing, invoking, and planning. ORS, 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 SMART goals. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Again, going through those stages of change, you will see a few questions on that. So already we've gone through 4 chapters, 25% of the textbook. I've just saved you a lot of anxiety. You may have a total of 10 questions out of that. Don't lose your shit over it. Chapter 5, obviously doing a screen, a PAR-Q is what you need to do as a trainer. You're not going to have a lot of questions on the ACSM stuff, which I think you should, but that's too confusing. So you should have a client always sign a form to cover your ass to make sure you don't get sued. They're going to talk about stuff that you should refer out to if you see a client is on certain medications. Nutrition, they're not going to ask you much on, because they want you to get their next cert. Go become a nutritionist. Go, no, don't do that. No, stop it. Stop getting more certs. Put your credit card down. No more certs. They do not make you more qualified. Here's some critical thinking for you, bigger thinking. If you want to be successful, you come into a trainer, you go through the assessment. The client goes, I want to talk about nutrition. You go, I work with a team of dietitians. I will help you with the basic stuff. Eat more protein, fruits and vegetables, water. That's what we're going to focus on. We need to train more. Calories in, calories out. That is the equation. I'm an expert with the out. When it comes to the in, there's a lot more psychological stuff. You got this dipshit online, so you got to go carnivore, this person vegan, this person carbs are bad, sugar's bad, cancer, inflammation. It's confusing, and you cannot address that in one session. So refer out. Make money off of that referral. You have a great team. You work with a dietitian. We teach you in our internship how to network with these individuals. So the average trainer tries to tackle all the shit themselves with their 15 certifications. I'm the expert. But your client comes in, and they're scared. They don't know where to go. And you say, you know what? When it comes to nutrition, if you're really struggling, we have a referral over here with a registered dietitian. You are now 1 out of 1,000. Trainers don't do that. They try to take everything on themselves. For ACE, they're not going to ask much on here, maybe 5 questions. Simple stuff. What is the breakdown for carbohydrates? 45 to 65%. What about for protein? 10 to 35%. Fat, 20 to 35, no more 10% being saturated. You should know that 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, 1 gram of carbs and protein is 4. The other macronutrient, my favorite, alcohol. Is it coffee? Is it whiskey? When I help you pass this, send me some whiskey. I love it. We can do a little Zoom call, and I'll set you up clearly what it's like to be a trainer. You will have a calculator. They're going to say a client consumed 10 grams of carbs, 10 grams of protein, 10 grams of fat. How many total calories was that? You take the 10 grams of protein, times it by 4. Carry the 1 divided by 3, 40. And then you have your protein, carbs times by 4, fat times by 9. Add it all together, that's the total calories. You're not going to need to know much besides that. because they want you to get their other stuff. Dash helps with lowering blood pressure from sodium aspect. And what do we need to know about protein? Yep, cover that one. Saturated fat, total carbs. Yep, that's all you need to know for that one. On page 192, there's the breakdown on how you can do those calculations, which you'll have maybe one or two. Real simple things on here. For your own knowledge, hyponatremia is consuming too much water and you can die from that. You can see something on caffeine. That would be the one supplement question that you would have. It's 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight of caffeine ingested 30 to 60 minutes prior to exercise. Just know 3 to 6 milligrams. That's it for that. BCAAs are branched chain amino acids. The basic unit for carbs are monosaccharides, glucose, fructose, galactose. When you put those together, you're going to have disaccharides, and you have a long chain polysaccharides. Oh, they're not going to quiz you on that. But those are the expectations that we have in the internship, and you get access to a registered dietitian. So being able to ask a true fitness professional, where is that in here? Everyone, this is what just is so comical to me. We work with our hands, we're personal. Yet the process, we don't work with our hands and we're not personal. Does that not kind of fuck with your head a little bit? Thinking like, isn't this too easy? I read a textbook and now I'm considered the expert? Well, that's what you have to do to start training. No, you don't. And why would you want to follow the path of everyone who's not successful? The path over here is less traveled. It's a little more challenging to truly understand programming and anatomy. But that's what separates you from the Red Sea of certified trainers and all their little ticks on their shoulder thinking that the acronyms around that certification makes them more qualified. Not the case. But hey, you don't give a shit about that. You care about the questions you're going to get, like on 223. This is your radial artery, thumb side. This is your brachial artery, carotid artery. Don't use this one. We're going to push off blood supply to the brain. Your vasovagal response will actually lower blood pressure. Don't mess with this one. Trainers will go here. Blood pressure is here. Blood pressure, client has tachycardia. That would be a referral out. That's a contraindication. Contraindication means don't do something for that specific person. Tachy, I think of like a tarantula, a bunch of legs, so 100 plus beats per minute. That's too much. I'm referring out to a physician, which I encourage you to have in your network with the physical therapist, with the psychologist. It just makes you a lot more qualified. Have those connections. So a client comes in, they have tachy, you refer out. Client comes in, you do blood pressure on them, and it's 150 over 100. What is that called? It's called hypertension. I'm going to refer out as well. So know the top number is systolic, the bottom one is diastolic. 120 over 80 is where we should be shooting to be. Less than would probably even be better, 115 over 75. If one of the numbers is elevated, 150 over 60, that's still hypertension. Only one needs to be elevated. There's different types of fat. We have visceral, which is a lot worse. Mostly dudes have that. That's your android obesity. For females, it's going to be called gynoid obesity, which is excess subcutaneous fat around the thighs and the glutes. Different types of body fat. You won't see anything on that, just for your own knowledge. The gold standard would be your hydrostatic, 1% air. The handheld is called your BIA, which is fine. Just remember, if you have a pacemaker in, it can jack that up, so you wouldn't want to use the handheld devices with that type of client. More commonly, you would see the calipers, which I do not believe in, because it's like, oh, hey, Amber, how's it going? Oh, let me start pinching your fat. Don't do that. Always ask for permission before you touch a client as well. Difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. 1 is onset, usually less than 10 years of age. It's more genetic. Type 2 is self-induced because of poor eating habits and lack of exercise. Type 2 is reversible. Type 1 is not. Type 1, you need insulin shots. Type 2, your pancreas is producing producing too much insulin. And what happens is your cells don't recognize what insulin does, so you have elevated levels of glucose floating around. So then you need to usually take some type of medication or exercise to lower your blood sugar levels. Just for your own knowledge, if you're training someone, have glucose tablets. We have them here in West Hollywood, all of our gyms. Because if your client were to get a little woozy, popping a couple of those makes them feel a lot better. They're super cheap, It's just a nice little safety card to have. Know your BMI. 18.5 to 24.9 is normal. 25 to 29.9 is overweight. 30 plus is obese. It is a calculation of your weight in kilograms over height in meters squared. And that is it for this chapter. Chapter 8, just skip through that one pretty quickly. You're not going to see anything. And then if you really want to nerd out, just look at the first one. Difference between arteries and veins. Arteries go away from the heart. Veins go back towards the heart. That's all you could potentially see. They literally won't ask you anything on heart stuff. ATP is the basic unit for cells. Won't see anything on that either. That's just bioenergetics. That's too advanced. And if you fail, then the mindset starts getting all fucked up, and then you won't pay more money to go do it again. So that's why they want you to pass. So they don't quiz you on the stuff that's hard. RPE, rating of perceived exertion. That's a good chart to know. Just 6 to 20, 0 to 10 basically. Easy, moderate to advanced. You're not going to see much on that. And fit, frequency, intensity, time, type. And now we will get into, yep, just skip that chapter. You will save yourself a lot of time. Next chapter, 9, basic anatomical systems, skeletal, muscular, nervous. They're not going to ask you much on that, but just for your own knowledge, there's 206 bones in the human body. The main ones that we'll be referencing as trainers, you've got the humerus, your clavicle, your scapula, your femur, your patellas, your kneecap, your sternum. There's 2 different subdivisions, your axial and appendicular. Think of an axle like going through a car. It's your lining right through here. So your skull, your vertebrae, 7 bones in the cervical region, 12 in the thoracic posteriorly. This is anterior side. And then you have 5 in the lumbar for a total of 33 because you have 9 in the sacrum and coccyx, which is your tailbone. Appendicular having coming out of the axial. And planes of motion, my favorite. Let's go anatomical position, supinated grip. Anytime we flex, anytime we extend, flex, extend, flex, extend. That's going to be the sagittal plane of motion. It's an imaginary line bisecting the body into right and left halves. Anything that we do sagittal will be flexing or extending, bicep curl, chin up. You're going to be doing a close grip bench press. Don't confuse that with a bench press, which will be transverse multiplanar because of the transverse plane, as well as extension, which would be sagittal. So a bench press would be multiplanar. A lunge, a squat. Most of our exercises are sagittal. An imaginary line bisecting the body into anterior and posterior halves will be frontal. Abduction, adduction. Going away, coming in. A pull-up, adduction. The humerus concentrically, which means shorten, 180 degrees, 90. I just shortened, I flexed this joint, which is my elbow, concentrically accelerated my biceps. The muscle you can see right there, that beautiful muscle, is lengthened, shortened, concentric. Lengthened is eccentric. That's the deceleration. That's where we build a lot of connective tissue strength. You can tell if a client is weak when they fall fast on the descent because they can't control the negative, is what they call it in the gym. The negative, the easier portion is eccentric. The positive, the portion where you develop the most force and velocity, is the concentric. So pulling up, frontal plane, adduction of the humerus, frontal. And then you have rotation, which is the imaginary line bisecting superior and inferior halves. You can also think of like cleaning a window. So if you see the girl on 328, the line going through this way, how do I clean the window? Like this. This would all be sagittal. If it goes through me like this, all frontal. Lateral raises, jumping jacks, all frontal. Rotation, throwing a ball, baseball players, pitchers, quarterbacks, all transverse plane of motion. That's where we're most likely to injure ourselves. The actions are not going to ask you much on. It's just good to know that stuff. I was referencing like a pull-up. The main mover is called your agonist. The opposite is antagonist. These are things that we dig a lot into on the online classes Tuesday and Thursday. I highly suggest you checking those out. You can shoot me a message on Instagram, Show Up Fitness or Show Up Fitness Internship, or you can email me at info@showupfitness.com. Unless you want to send me whiskey, then you can email chris@showupfitness.com. One's more business, one's more fun. I'm joking, they both come to me. But you need to know the exercise that your client's performing, the main mover, the synergist, which is the assister, it helps out, and the antagonist, it's just the opposite. So if I'm doing this, that's your deltoid. Technically it's your anterior and medial, but they won't get that specific. It's your deltoid, the agonist, synergist, triceps because of extension here. The opposite would be pulling down, which would be your lats. So military press, agonist, deltoid, synergist, triceps, antagonist, your lats. Opposite, pull down, agonist, lats, synergist, biceps. Opposite, pressing up, deltoid. In the seated position, I'm going to squat. When I stand up, my extensors are working. My extensors are going to be my glutes. At the quads, at the knee, I also have extension, which is my quads. That would also be an agonist. Squat is more quad dominant because my knee goes through a greater range of motion, whereas a hinge is more hip dominant, which is your glutes. The synergist, according to ACE, is going to be your hamstrings. The opposite would be this group right here, which is your psoas or your hip flexors. That's the most advanced shit that you would see. You need to know that like the back of your I'm snapping, but your back of your hand if you really want to be qualified. Different types of muscles, smooth, cardiac, and skeletal. Over 650 muscles of the human body. Longest in the human body is your sartorius. That's my favorite muscle. That's your hip muscle, comes down here to your knee. Biarticulate means it crosses two joints. And then you have your fiber types, 1 and 2. Type 1 is more, they call them slow twitch, 2 fast twitch. Muscles, think of it like a cup of coffee. All right, so this is full, it's just a shot or two of whiskey. So it's always going to be a combination. It's not just only coffee or only whiskey. It's the same with the muscle. So your bicep, genetics play a huge role, but also where the muscle is. If it's a main movement muscle, it's going to be more type 2. Your lats, your glutes, your pectoralis major. Those are all larger muscles that move the axial, the appendicular skeleton. Those would be more type 2. They fatigue quickly. They're more explosive. They have less blood flow. They're called anaerobic, without oxygen. Whereas things that stabilize the joint, like your rotator cuff muscles, remove the deltoid underneath, which is called deep. You have the 4 rotator cuff muscles. You need to know that part of the internship to become a level 1 if you want to become great. You don't need that for this. You just need to know it's your rotator cuff. Don't say cup, cuff. That's a cup. This is a cuff. Supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, subscapularis. Those are the 4. Those are more type 1 because they're stabilizing the glenohumeral joint. Things that are more distal, these muscles would be more type 1, slow twitch. They have more oxygen. They can do things for a long period of time. A little fun little trick that you can do, or just a little exercise, is tap your foot. When you push it down, that's called plantar flexion. When you come up, that's dorsiflexion. So you can hear me tapping right now, right? How long could you do this for? Probably a pretty long time. It's more type 1. Now, first person to get to 100 gets $1 million. Go! Oh shit, what's that burn? That's lactate formating. And that burn, that metabolic stress, who cares what's actually happening? I can tell you in our classes, but for now, you hear this, I'm going fast, 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 fast. That's your fast twitch. But then I'm gonna go back to this because I can't maintain that high speed, velocity output for a long period of time. Maybe 10, 20 seconds max. So that's the muscle. You're gonna have a muscle that's firing fast, fatigues out, then you're gonna have your type 1s going. That's your little breakdown for fiber types. Don't need to know much. 353 is a good one. You'll see probably this video where you'll have the lady here and she's coming up concentrically. Maybe she's holding that position isometrically, doing a wall sit or a plank. What type of muscle contraction is that? So if she's flat on the ground and she comes up and they say, what is that muscle action taking place on the upward portion of the curl? That would be concentric. If she's coming down slow, that's going to be eccentric. Even if she comes down fast, it's still eccentric. It's the easier portion. The best way to be able to do a pull-up is not to get a freaking band or do the machine. It's to get your client up there, hold, and then come down eccentrically. That's going to program the brain to set expectations for doing the concentric part. The fastest way to be able to do a pull-up, 3 to 5 eccentrics. You see a lot of the videos of this stuff, balance and stability. Go through this stuff pretty quickly. Nope, nothing there. And you're going to see the progressions like that. Specificity, no. You might see a question on like how much to add resistance-wise. Usually 3 to 5% is a good suggestion. Definitely need to know 379. This is a big page. You'll see a lot on the rep ranges. So general muscular fitness, your functional fitness would be 8 to 15 reps, which would be a lighter intensity. Moderate or hypertrophy is what they'll call that one, 6 to 12 reps. You want to be resting 30 to 90 seconds. It's like 65 to 85%, so more moderate intensity. Heavy is going to be 1 to 5 reps, 85 to 100% with intensity. Longer rest periods, anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. So they may ask you a question. Your client is resting 30 seconds between sets. Which phase would they be in here? And so they'll be looking specifically for less than 30 would be muscular endurance. If it's like 45 to a minute, that would be hypertrophy. 2+ minutes would be power and strength. All righty, more than halfway through chapter 10. This is the postural deviation. This is probably the most important chapter that you need to know. If you were to read any chapter in this textbook, 1, just this one. 10 is all you need to do. And if you don't have the book, don't get it just for that. You can get into our classes and we go over this. Again, open-ended questions, active listening, rapport. You see that a lot. You're going to be tested on them. So they go over the IFT module and the load, speed, movement, and functional. Functional being the base. Knowing postural deviations. This is the biggest thing. We talk about this in our guide. We have this on a blog. You need to know these deviations and what muscles would be overactive or shortened, facilitated, or underactive, lengthened, and inhibited. They're used interchangeably. What I would do, the best piece of advice, get a bunch of flashcards. Write down the muscles that are overactive, write down the ones that are underactive. Put them into a deck and just start pulling them out. So if you pull out the word upper back extensors, what the hell are those? You need to know that those are underactive. Upper back extensors, it's going to be your mid-back muscles. Your scapular stabilizers, posterior muscles. Neck flexors, those are all underactive, lengthened muscles. We need to strengthen those according to ACE. The overactive, shortened muscles. So again, flashcard would be overactive, shortened, facilitated. That's one side of it. And then I would have on the other side, neck extensors. I would have latissimus dorsi. So your neck extensors would be your upper traps. Your latissimus dorsi, this one. And your anterior chest, your pec major, your shoulders. Those are going to be the ones that are shortened. Opposite would be the ones that are lengthened. Facilitated when you have lordosis. Lordosis is going to be the lower region and anterior tilt. A cup of coffee. This is a slightly anterior tilted would be considered neutral. People want you to be like perfectly parallel. No, you should be slightly tilted. That would be normal. I'm not going to spill coffee out. Lordosis, too much of an anterior tilt, which is pouring coffee out. And so that's going to be your hip flexors, which is your psoas, your rectus femoris. That's just hip flexors is all you need to know. And also your lumbar extensors, these your erector muscles. So this one's pulling you up, this one's pulling you down. So the lengthened muscles would be your hip extensors, which would be your glutes. They're just going to ask about hip extensors though. And then your external obliques, which are underneath. You have your external, internal, and then your transverse abdominis. Your rectus abdominis, lengthened. So when you look at that joint, you got the flexors pulling you down. These ones are shortened. The rectus abdominis is lengthened. That's weak. You have your glutes, which are going to be your posterior chain ones that should even you out, but they're weak. Your extensors are going to be the shortened ones. And then when you have a sway back posture, which you can see is going to be just more here. This, some people call this kyphosis, but this would be, don't use this fucking terminology on your clients either. But you have lordosis, that would scare the shit out of them. That's fear mongering. No, I never use this vocabulary. Upper cross, lower cross, shortened, inhibited. We got to fix you. You're a leper. No, you're fine. Your posture's a little jacked up. It's all right. There's no perfect posture. There isn't. We don't need to be here all the time. If you want to be here for a little bit, that's all right. If you want to be here for a little bit, that's okay. The perfect posture is the one you're constantly changing. Now, from a physiological perspective, I'll give you a little trick right here. I do this with all my clients in the beginning. This establishes confidence and lets them know that you're smart as shit. All right, your posture kind of sucks. I'll talk like that as well. Let's get some more testosterone in your body. Testosterone will be released faster. It's going to give you that confidence. Here, how do you get there? Flex, pronate, horizontally abduct, externally rotate. Come down here. What's up? Show me your chest. This is what I want right here. Confidence, not victim mentality. The world's so big and bad. No, here, this is where I want you to be. This is where I want you to be when we're training. This shows confidence. Go throughout the day like this, not here. You don't need to specifically do lengthening and fuck. No, just focus on this more. You will change your bad posture to be here more versus here more. All right, so you need to know that the inhibited ones, according to a sway back, are going to be your psoas major, rectus fem, external oblique, upper back extensors, neck flexors. Flashcard those. On the other side, the shortened ones, your hamstrings, upper fiber of the posterior obliques. They're not going to ask you about the specifics with that. They'll just say your hamstrings. They'll just say your lumbar extensors and neck extensors. That's all you need to know. Alrighty, so get into these deviations. You will see a ton on that stuff. Probably as many as 15, 20 questions. You will be asked about static balance unipedal stance test, 410. They want to know the specifics. You'll do this for 45 seconds. You're basically just bouncing on one foot. The dynamic one would be the Y balance test. So static is you just stand there. Dynamic is you're going to have some movement. You're going to be touching back and forth. Static, no movement. Dynamic, movement. You need to know the McGill's torso muscular endurance test. Those are the three that they're going to ask you. The unipedal, the McGill, and the Thomas, which can be seen on page, where's Thomas? On page 424. Thomas test, texting out your hip flexor length. Those are the three that you should see. You will see something about the ratio. So again, if you want to go to 432, some dominant stuff, you'll see that vocabulary. This is a good one right here where it talks about glute dominance, quadriceps dominance, and lumbar dominance, and how you may have more prevalence of low back injuries or ACL issues. You will see something on, where are you? So regression of the push-up, which will be on figure 1052. So doing your regular push-ups, regress would be going to your knees, or modified Valsalva maneuver is your pooping muscles. That's holding your breath, closed glottis, pressure comes up here, creates intra-abdominal pressure. It's a good thing unless you have high blood pressure and your client's lifting. They can get a little woozy. It's just creating a fluid ball pressure in your core, which is good for your low back, but not if you have high blood pressure. See that one again of, in general, increase 5 to 10% would be the answer that they would be looking for. So if your client Amber is doing 100 pounds on the bench press, how much would you suggest for her to increase per set? They'd have like 1%, they would have 5%, they'd have 15% or 20%. So we're looking for that 5 to 10%. Earlier I said 3 to 5. They wouldn't give you like a 1, 3, 5, or 7. They give you 1, 5, or 15 plus. So they make it real specific. This page 455, know your rep table. So 5 reps is roughly 87%, 12 reps is roughly 67%. That's just the rep range of 6 to 12 hypertrophy, 1 to 5 strength, 1 to 10 is power, but it's explosive, so it's a lower intensity, where 1 to 5 is a higher intensity, 85 to 100, power is like 30 to 45%. You'll see a question on either your shoulder flexion extension or your knee with knee flexion and extension in the ratio. Know it's 2 to 3. You'll absolutely see something like that. T-test is just an agility test, and that's the test, that chapter that you really need to power through. 467, getting into the evidence-based practice. You're not going to see much on this chapter. Going again, you'll just constantly see more of the IFT module. This is the most that they do for their programming. They don't actually tell you how to program. That's what we do. If you're not familiar with the CCA, that's going to set you up for long-term success, because you'll know how to program for a client with a core movement pattern, then an accessory, then you rest until they're ready to go again, add weight, and you do it for 3 rounds. That's circuit 1, next CCA, next CCA. That's what's going to help you be successful. I have that template in my book. Get to one of our seminars. 2 days, you'll learn more than any one of these textbooks. Money back guarantee. This doesn't do shit for your confidence. You have a piece of paper and you're like, most common email I get, I'm certified, but I have no idea what the fuck to do. I have imposture phenomena. It's like, I'm the trainer, but I don't know what I'm doing. That's 90+% of certified trainers out there. They just put on a facade. No, the soap and rice. You'll see a question on that. Questions on flexibility, 482, static stretching versus PNF, which is coolest word to say if you're at a bar, if you want a free shot. Proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. What just happened? Cool word, PNF. All that is would be holding a stretch here, stretching my chest for 7-10 seconds. I come out of that stretch and I drive into something. So here I have my wall, I'm driving into it. Now I'm engaging my chest. 3, 4, 5. My brain, once I stop, is kind of like, what the hell just happened? And reciprocally, I can go back into that stretch and get more range of motion. It's a great neurological tool to use for stretching. That's called PNF. Then you have dynamic stretching. Those are the 3 types. Know stuff about pregnant women and stretching. We have examples in here on what that looks like and what you should and should not be doing. Foam roll or die, 30 to 60 seconds. Foam rolling is fine. I like to stir the bee's nest because you have trainers out there that will foam roll their clients for 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah, that's what Frank needs, who's morbidly obese, to foam roll for 10 minutes. He needs to get ready for the workout. Frank needs to sit down and get back up more. He needs to do more squats with good form. He needs to do exercise that are going to burn calories, not foam roll. You're not releasing your knots that you have in your tissue. No, stop scaring your clients. Help them move. We're pro movement. We don't scare our clients for movement. You're going to see regressions and progressions here. I would never put my client on one of those unstable devices. If you want to get better at balance, guess what you do? You balance. You would do a squat pattern into a push pattern. Stand on one leg. This client right here on 488, who looks like he's in his 70s, I would not have him on the Dynadisc or the Eric's pad. That does not improve balance any superiorly than standing on one leg. Getting stronger would. So by squatting and doing push-ups, that's what's going to help him with balance way more than doing this stuff. So that's what we talk about with understanding the accessory, which is your client's goal, and put that in there to help with their longevity, their aesthetics, their cardiorespiratory, whatever it may be. Know the word contraindication on 493. Here's the plyo stuff with regressions and progressions. You start with linear forward. So that's going to be your first plyo. Then you go into lateral, side steps, back pedal, rotational, and then crossover. So stopping and then going, crossing and going. Knowing that, progressions, regressions for plyos. So that would actually, sorry, I misspoke. This would be like a sprint drill, and then 497 would be your plyos, which would be jumps in place. Make sure we're jumping properly. Always tell a shitty trainer and influencer, yay, I'm Tinkerbell. What the fuck are you doing? No. You load. When was the last time you saw a basketball player? Whee! You load your arms back and then you come forward. That's how you jump. I can always find a shitty influencer by the way that they jump and if they're doing it for 30, 45, 60 seconds. Jumping is explosive. Type 2 muscles. Volleyball players, soccer, basketball, baseball, football. They're more type 2. Type 1 is endurance. You don't train your type 1s to be explosive. You can't do that. It's like teaching Shaq to be a point guard. No, they do their things very well explosively. 10 reps max, rest 2-3 minutes, then repeat. If you're to program that, a jump into a squat, into a plank, you rest for 1 to 2 minutes. By the time you come back to the jump, it's been 3 minutes. You're going to optimize the output, your power output, by resting. Oh, the fitness industry is so fucked up. They don't understand science, but you do if you show up. 498, you'll see a question on beginner volume for plyos, 80 to 100. 140 plus would be advanced. And you'll see that the running mechanics. So you have triple flexion. Your leg is flexed, your knee is flexed, your ankle's flexed. It's the same with the jump. You come back and you come up. And those are your agility drills. Jeez, ladders. Oof. So 508 in the periodization. So periodization has 3 parts. You have big picture, which is macro, maybe a 4-year period. Every month would be your mesocycle. Mes in Spanish is month. And then micro, think of a micro machine, small. So week to week. If you have the same load every week, that's linear. If you change it up per workout, it's undulating. You can also have daily undulating periodization, which would be like 5 reps the first set. So here your core accessory. So you do 5 reps on your first, you warm up and then you get into your 5. a squat pattern, and you do a goblet as the second one. Maybe you do 10 or 15-second circuit. And at the end, you do some lunges, which will be 20 plus. So you have strength, you have hypertrophy, and endurance. That's the most superior. We teach you, but you just need to know for them linear or undulating. And you'll see examples on 509. Not much on periodization. You can skip most of this stuff. You will see now they start getting into 521 on how this is just going to help with their modules. So you'll see that the client is very busy, 39-year-old mother who wants to run a 5K race. Where would you start them in the cardiorespiratory? You have your base, fitness, and then your HIIT training essentially. So you start with fitness, and it gives you the VT1, VT2. They're not going to test you on that, but if you want to know it, that's the cardiorespiratory chapter, like one small thing. It basically just means aerobic versus anaerobic. You can talk, you can't talk. And then movement, which is focusing on the patterns and improving strength. And so then they give you examples. You'll see some videos of these. What is she training? That's what we go over a lot in the class. We'll put these up there, and you need to know the main muscles or the stretch that they're doing. So for 533, here's your client, Philip, 33-year-old worker, shoulder issues, base training is what you want to do for cardiorespiratory, and then load and speed because he wants to focus specifically on that. You listen to your client's goals, and then you implement that. So this is just, we have a lot of these case examples that we'll do in class. Another one, 60-year-old inactive worker, base training, functional because of the client goals. Like on 545, you would see your client pushing away from the ground. What is the main muscle working? Your chest. What is the assister? Your triceps. Your client is doing a ball, you'll see this video, I guarantee it, 545. Client coming out and coming in, what is the main muscle group? And they may have a couple answers. So it'll be like your abs and your lats, your back and your glutes, so your abs, and because you're coming down with extension, it would be your lats. Muscles in a side bridge on 546. She's holding this. You'd be looking for your external obliques. Almost there, almost there. These ones I go through super fast. 12, ready? Watch how fast I go through these. They're not going to ask you much on this. Just know the BMI. Not going to ask you anything about hormones. If you want to know hormones, that's something we'll teach you. You have anaerobic, which is testosterone, IGF, human growth hormone, insulin, catabolic, which means breakdown. Cortisol's bad! People, cortisol is a great hormone. It does its job. It's catabolic. It breaks down. It's anti-inflammatory. Here's your soap that I talked about earlier, 594. These little expand your knowledge. That's what's you're gonna see a lot with that. You're gonna see that vocabulary. Your client is depressed. Your client has type 2 diabetes. They're anxious. You need to build rapport. Always use that one. Know your blood pressure, as I talked about earlier. Yep, so again, you're not going to have much on this at all. They're not going to quiz you on the HDLs, LDLs. That stuff we do. Link up with the doctor to encourage your clients to get a blood chemistry. I'm inflamed. Oh, shit. Are you? When was the last time you were at the doctor and had your blood drawn? Let me take a look at your C-reactive protein and tell you really how inflamed you are. No, but I've read on this. I mean, I'm inflamed. I got bad gut health. I'm going to take some probiotics. People today are so fucking gullible. When we're scared, we listen to anyone. You have your shirt off. I should do this with my fucking shirt off. Like, oh my God, the belt buckle guy. He must know everything because he's fucking jacked. Oh my God. No, I'm professional. For the most part, right? But people today in fitness, is like someone has their shirt off and a lot of followers, it means that they know what they're doing. No, it's not the case. 663, women who are pregnant, that's one of the things that you should know. And again, those are just little exercises in there. Postpartum, know those exercises. Training senior citizens, you want to make sure you're strengthening bones. They're more prone for osteoporosis. It's osteopenia first, then osteoporosis. You can remodel bones by lifting heavier loads, something that you don't get by bouncing on a frickin' Bosu ball, stability ball. Load the tissue, Wolff's Law, as the bones get stronger after about 6 months, you can begin to reverse osteoporosis into osteopenia. Penia means wasting away. Sarcopenia is a loss of muscle mass due to age. The sarcomere is the basic unit of muscle, as osteon is the basic unit for bone. Simple things that trainers should know. The difference between a ligament and a tendon. Your ACL, anterior cruciate, in Latin means cross, ligament, bone, your femur to your tibia. Your tendon, your Achilles tendon, His mom put him in the water of sticks. Achilles only held him by his ankle, made him vulnerable. Why would you do that, Mom? Come on, flip him around, get creative. That's how Achilles died. Orlando Bloom, pop, right? Oh, testing your movie vocabulary right there, because these chapters you're not going to see much on. We're almost done. Most of your clients are going to have low back pain. Make a referral out. They're not going to ask you about injuries. That's physical therapy, and they're really big into knowing your scope. So they're not going to ask you about any of this stuff. It's good to know. Don't go get a corrective exercise cert. Reach out to a therapist. Build rapport. Go and watch them work with the client. Use that opportunity to build your network. Train the therapist. I would love for you to come to my gym 3 times a week for the next month for free. A lot of times they'll pay. To show you I'm not a fucking idiot bouncing on Bosu balls, doing battle ropes, CrossFit style. Guess what the therapist will say? I've actually never had anyone offer that. I would love to see what you can do. And you learn from them about anatomy, about injuries. You don't need a corrective exercise cert, spending $600. You network with that professional, and then guess what? A, the trainer or the therapist will probably want to work with you. B, they're going to send you clients. That's bigger thinking. Where's that in here? Nope. They want you to get the next cert. Knee valgus, you got to fix it. Your client's going to die. Oh, the fitness industry is so fucked up. I'll talk about it in here. Last chapter, 16, you will see some stuff on, it's more just legality stuff. Less than maybe 3 questions. Negligence, definitely why you have your client sign your forms. You get insurance. And besides that, we will help you with your resume. We will help you with interviews. We can get you hired anywhere. Over 100 trainers placed at Equinox. 300 total with the crunches, the lifetimes, with our level 1 certificate. If you want to become a qualified trainer, this isn't it, but I just helped you pass this. All right, watch this video again. That's all you need to know in this textbook. Do not read it front to back. This is what you need to read front to back. This is going to set you up for long-term success. This isn't going to do shit. Once you pass it, get rid of it. Focus on programming, learning the psychosocial model of your clients and why they don't show up. Get mentored. Hands-on learning is what you need. Don't look for a mentor who has a lot of experience. Think of a heart surgeon just passed their textbook and went, yay, I'm qualified. I'm looking for 3 people to start doing heart surgery on. I'm going to gain experience. Unsupervised experience is the blind leading the blind. You need to find people who own gyms, who have a good track record, and usually those are the ones that are having seminars and teaching other trainers. I really want to help you be successful. The industry is jacked up. I'm the bad guy with the belt buckle who's challenging the status quo because certifications continually give us a bad rep. If you want to become successful, challenge the status quo by learning anatomy, programming, and hands-on learning. Reach out to me. Love to hear your story. Love to hear once you pass. Love to help you continue on with your journey, helping people safely. That's what we want to do. Belt buckle trainer. Boom, 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 boom. Signing out. Have a great day, y'all.